Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday morning. I'm here to kick you off with an inspirational start to your weekend. So I promised in the description for today that we're going to talk about two different kinds of people, right? One group of people basically kind of like stays where they're at throughout life. Maybe like sometimes they have some big catastrophe or something and they go and they make a big change, but generally they stay pretty stagnant. There's not a lot of change. There's not a lot of difference from the status quo. There's not a lot of growth because of that. And this second group is a much smaller group of people, right? But they're constantly evolving. They're constantly changing. They're constantly growing. And so they have a disproportionate impact. They have a disproportionate satisfaction with life. They have a disproportionate, all the conventional measures of success, all that kind of stuff. Sorry. So the question is, what are these two types of people? How does this affect things? And how do you figure out, like, if you're in one group and you want to be in the other group, how do you shift that? So let's dive in. So the first type of people, and here, one second. There we go. We got the agenda working. So the first type of person is the people who ignore or soften their problems, right? So if you have something that's wrong in your life, most human beings, like the vast majority of human beings, will not deal with that. They will not go in and they will not say, hey, listen, this is what's wrong. I've got to fix it. They'll try to kind of either ignore it or paper over it or soften it, and they won't be honest with themselves because it hurts, right? And if you're in this group, I'm not saying this with judgment, right? Like, this is true of like 95% of people, right? Most people, they don't want to face their problems. They want to focus on things that make them feel good. So they go focus on things that make them feel good. And they're not looking for, hey, listen, how do I improve this? They're looking for, hey, listen, how can I not deal with this, right? And again, if you're in that group, that's okay. I'm going to show you how to actually get out of that group before the end of the thing, if that's something you want to do. If not, if you just want to live, a quiet, stationary life, then, be my guest, right? Now, the second type of people, and this is a much rarer group of people, is people who look for what they don't know, right? So this is like, Socrates was always like, well, I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know this other thing, right? People who look for what they don't know, who look at the issues in their life and go, man, this really isn't working right now. What can I do, right? That's a totally different kind of person, right? Most people are not like that. Most people don't actively think, hey, listen, what's wrong and how can I get better at it starting today? What don't I know? What can I go learn? What resources can I draw from? There's this inherent resourcefulness. There's this inherent confidence. There's this inherent, mindset of improvement that happens in that second group of people. And what happens is that compounds over time. Over time, you take that little decision of, hey, listen, I need to go learn something. And you multiply that by, once every day or once every couple days for 30 or 40 years. And at the end result, you're going to get a totally different result, right? It's like compound interest to the, nth degree. So the question, though, is when we look at these two, right, why is it that one produces one result, which is, basically staying the same, and one produces the other result, which is this kind of explosive growth? And the answer is in what's called the cycle of development. So you guys may have heard this before, right? But there are fundamentally 4 stages towards, in building any kind of skill whatsoever. So the first stage is unconscious incompetence. You are not good at something and you don't know that you're not good at it. The second stage is conscious incompetence, which means that you're not good at it, but you're aware that you're not good at it, right? The third stage is conscious competence, where if you pay attention, you can do it right. And then the fourth stage is unconscious competence, where you don't even have to think about it. This is something that you just do naturally that you're good at. Right. And then what happens is this is a cycle, because it doesn't end there, because then you go to some new skill or some new, something else in your life, and you go back to the thing. Oh, wait, unconscious incompetence. Oh, wait, now I'm consciously incompetent, so on and so forth. Right. So let's think about how this plays out. Right. So there are a couple transitions here. So the first transition is from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. And this is when I'm talking about these two types of people, right? One group's going to make that transition a lot faster than the other. So somebody who's ignoring or softening their problems, right, is going to not make that change. They're not going to go and see, hey, listen, I'm not good at this. They're going to try to avoid seeing that. It's not something that they want to see. So they're going to try to go and, it's going to take longer, right? Eventually, the world may throw it in their face. As I said, if there's a catastrophe, it's going to happen. But somebody who's consciously looking to find out what they don't know, they're going to make that jump from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence very quickly, because they're always looking for what do I not know. Now, it's actually really, it's much easier to go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence, because human beings, once they're aware of a problem, we're like heat-seeking missiles, right? We go after it, right? And so once we know, hey, listen, we don't know how to do this and we want to know how to do this, like we'll start Googling, we'll start watching YouTube videos, we'll start doing et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that skill set will start to build. Now, are there times when, if it's a particularly important or valuable skill set, when you may need to go out and seek real help and get somebody to really show you what's going on, and that may require some degree of some degree of sacrifice of time, effort, money, whatever, that sometimes stops people? Yes, that absolutely happens, right? But once you made that jump to where you know that something is not working and you know that you need to build that skill, you're going to start developing that skill naturally, right? And then there may be a time when your commitment is tested, and that's just like, that's the way of the world. That's the other place where you can get stuck. And then once you're consciously competent, then you just do it enough. And then eventually you become unconsciously competent, right? The human brain is just wired. If you're doing something and you're doing it correctly, you do it enough times, eventually, right, you're good, right? You just can do it within your sleep, right? That's just how we operate as human beings, okay? So that's the cycle of development, right? Now, here's the thing, right? As I said, when you compound that over time, right, and you start looking at all of the, so every time you go up that cycle from at the bottom, from unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence at the top, that happens for hundreds or thousands of different skills over the course of your life, right? And what happens is, if you have somebody who goes through that entire cycle, 5,000 times versus somebody who goes through it 50 times, then the results in their life in terms of their wealth, in terms of their career happiness, in terms of their relationships, in terms of their fulfillment, for somebody who goes through that 5,000 times is going to be vastly different, right? I mean, if I look at like what I've learned in the past, like just the past 2 years, right? If I could go back and know what I knew now 2 years ago, it would be radically different, right? I mean, I would reach so many more people in that 2 years, knowing what I know now, right? I would have such a much larger impact. I mean, I would have literally hundreds of thousands of dollars more in my pocket today, if I knew then what I know now, right? Now, the truth is that, there was no way for me to know that back then. And I have had, when I talk about commitment and investment, all this kind of stuff, I've, gone and worked with mentors and all that kind of stuff. And those mentors have taught me, and just experience, frankly, just going out and doing stuff and figuring out for myself, all of that collective knowledge over the past 2 years, right, is so hugely valuable to me. And if I had put that off for just, 1 more year or 2 more years, right, then what I could have had then is what's coming to me in the next 2 years, right? So like, I've already, if you look at like my business and my life, things have been going like this, right? Nice steep upward curve, right? If I put that off, then, I'd miss out on that for the next 2 years, right? So that's why if you look back and you go, if I only knew, well, whatever if you only knew is the thing that is going to be in your life forward if you take action now, right? So now let's talk about, let's say, right, now that we've gone over all of this, we've looked at the stakes, we've looked at how it plays out, what causes the difference? So what's the difference between somebody who ignores and softens their problems versus somebody who looks for what they don't know, right? That is huge, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, well, that's just the way I am. But that's not true. At the end of the day, there is one simple mindset shift that you can make if you want to move from one to the other. So people who ignore or soften their problems look at their inability to do certain things or their lack of knowledge of certain things. They look at it as a source of shame. They look at it as a source of guilt. They look at it as a source of pain. And guess what? If it's shame and guilt and pain, No wonder you don't want to look at it. No human being does, right? That's just like, why would you? There's a Pavlovian conditioning there. There's just, our brains are wired to avoid guilt and shame and pain, right? That's just how we're built, right? But if you look at what you don't know as a source of opportunity, as a source of what could be, as a source of potential reward, like you're hunting for Easter eggs, right? Oh, wow, I found something that I don't know. Awesome. This is a new skill that I get to build. And it's like an Easter egg. It's a treasure. It's a prize, right? And you look at it from that perspective, then everything changes, because then you're excited to find what you don't know. Then you're excited to make that jump from unconscious competence to from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, right? You're excited to make that jump, and then you move the rest of the way, right? That is the huge difference. So guys, so here's the thing, right? Go out, think about this, make that mindset shift. I highly recommend that you live in the perspective of looking for what you don't know. If you don't want to, that's cool. But if you do, then definitely go start thinking about that. Start looking for it as something that's a reward, right? And if you're going and you're looking and there's a specific set of skills that you realize that you're not as good at as you need to be, then maybe you go get help. And if that set of skills happens to fall in the career field, then give me a call, right? So if you are looking for, so this is the link where you can give me a call. It's www.oculusinstitute.com/scheduling. A couple of the skills that I can help you build, right, is getting clear on your purpose, on what's really going to make you happy in terms of your work, and actually like operationalizing that into something that can make you money. Planning out your career from where you are to that endpoint. So if you know the endpoint, but you don't know how to get there and still be financially stable, that planning is something I'm very, very, very good at. And then of course executing all this stuff, right? So whether that be in employment, right, working for somebody else, freelancing, or entrepreneurship, starting your own company. All that skill set is something that I'm very, very good at. And then finally, the internal work. So the what I call psychohacking that's the name that I have for the particular process that I use to stop self-sabotaging behaviors, dissolve stress, and just understand your mind a lot better so that it doesn't trick you. Belief realignment, all that kind of stuff. So those are the kinds of skill sets. If you're looking to learn those skill sets, I'm the right person to talk to. If you're looking to learn some other skill sets, maybe somebody else is the right person to talk to. But if you're interested in learning those skill sets, then give me a call, right? If you see that your career is an area where you need to and want to improve, then definitely give me a call, especially if you're unfulfilled, if you're off purpose, if you're not doing something that makes you happy. Go to www.oculusinstitute.com/scheduling. We'll get clear on where you are. We'll get clear on that gap of what you don't know and what you need to know. And then we'll put together an action plan to get you there. And again, maybe that action plan's with me, maybe it's not. I don't know till I talk to you. But we'll get clear. We'll get you on the road. And that call, by the way, guys, is completely free. So I look forward to speaking to you. Go out there, be like Socrates, think about what you don't know, and I will talk to you soon.